An insult is never just an insult. It's a probe, a tiny blade slipped between your ribs to see if you flinch. And most men do. They react on instinct, like animals defending territory. They raise their voice, they explain themselves, they try to prove they're not what the other person said, and in that exact moment, power changes hands. Because the one who insults is not trying to be correct. They're trying to be in control. They're testing your frame, your emotional discipline, your hunger for approval. Understand this: rude people don't throw words, they throw hooks. If you bite, they reel you in. If you lunge back, they steer you. If you defend, they own you. Machiavelli would call it what it is, an opportunity disguised as disrespect. The moment someone insults you is the moment they reveal what they're attempting: dominance, attention, superiority, or entertainment at your expense. Your job is not to win the argument. Your job is to keep your status untouched, cold, clean, unmoved. Because the man who can be provoked can be controlled, and the man who can be controlled is already defeated, even if he wins the exchange. So from this second onward, you stop reacting like a wounded ego and start responding like a strategist. You don't rush to speak. You don't rush to prove. You don't rush to punish. You observe. You measure. You decide. An insult is information: who they are, what they want, and how they fight. And when you learn to treat it as data, not a personal wound, you become dangerous. Not loud dangerous. Quiet dangerous. Untouchable. The psychology of the insulter. They're buying status. Rude people don't insult you for fun. They insult you to buy something: status, control, relief from their own weakness. When a man feels small, he tries to make someone else feel smaller. That's not philosophy. That's human nature in its ugliest, most predictable form. The insult is a transaction. They pay a few words to purchase a reaction. If you give it to them, anger, embarrassment, defensive explanations, you've just funded their confidence. You've just donated power to someone who didn't earn it. Dark psychology makes this simple. Most insults are projection. They accuse you of what they fear in themselves. They call you stupid because they feel inadequate. They call you soft because they are terrified of being seen as weak. They call you nobody because their identity is fragile and needs an enemy to feel real. And sometimes it's not insecurity, it's performance. In groups, insults become a stage. They throw a jab to get laughs, to signal dominance, to climb the social ladder using your dignity as the rung. That's why they do it when others are watching. They're not talking to you. They're talking through you. They're using you as a prop to build a story where they're above you. And then there are the true predators, the ones who insult to test boundaries, to see if you can be trained like a dog. First, a small disrespect, then a bigger one. Each time you tolerate it, you teach them what they can get away with. They're mapping your limits. They're looking for the point where you collapse into emotion and abandon strategy. This is why you must never take insults at face value. The surface is noise. The intention is the signal. Ask yourself silently, what are they trying to extract from me? Attention, fear, submission, or chaos? Because once you see the motive, you stop feeling attacked and start seeing a script. And when you can read the script, you can control the scene. The first law: pause like a predator. The first law is brutal. You do not move first. The moment the insult lands, your body will want to respond. Your chest tightens, your face heats, your ego rises like a guard dog. That's the trap. Your nervous system is being recruited to fight their war on their terms. So you do the opposite. You pause. Not an awkward pause, a controlled pause. A predator's pause. One beat longer than normal, long enough to drain their momentum. Long enough to make them feel their own words hanging in the air with no reward attached. Keep your posture still, shoulders relaxed, jaw loose, eyes calm. Do not rush into a smile to smooth it over, and do not rush into aggression to prove yourself. Both are signs they reached you. Your face should say one thing: I heard you, and it changed nothing. Silence is not weakness when it's chosen. Silence is pressure. It forces them to sit with what they just did. Most rude people are addicted to feedback. They need your reaction like oxygen. Starve them. Let the quiet stretch just enough that the room notices the imbalance. Then, when you speak low and slow. Not because you're nervous, because you're in control. You don't match their energy. You downgrade it. You make their heat look childish next to your cold. Here is the psychological punchline. Whoever controls the tempo controls the power. Fast equals emotional. Slow equals deliberate. Fast equals defensive. Slow equals dominant. In that pause, you are doing something most men never learn. You are separating your identity from the insult. You are refusing to let a stranger's mouth decide your internal temperature. This is how you become untouchable, by refusing to be rushed, by refusing to be dragged into theater. You are not there to perform, you are there to decide. And the moment they realize they can't shake you, their confidence collapses, because the one thing an insulter cannot handle is a man who doesn't need to react to feel strong. The mirror technique. Return the energy, not the emotion. Now you use the mirror, not to reflect their insult back with emotion, but to reflect it back with clarity. The goal is simple: make their behavior visible and make it cost them dignity. You don't argue the content, you expose the move. You don't say, "That's not true." You say, evenly, "Was that meant to be disrespectful?" Then you stop. Let them answer. If they joke, you don't laugh. If they dodge, you press once. So yes or no. If they say, "Relax," you reply, "I am relaxed. I asked a question." This is a Machiavellian trick. You deny them the chaos they want, and you force them into clarity they hate. Another mirror is repetition. You tilt your head slightly and say it again, slowly. Not angry, curious, predatory calm. Most people won't repeat it because the insult loses power when it has to be owned twice. If they do repeat it, you don't escalate. You label it. You say, "Good, now I know how you speak," and you let that sentence hang like a verdict. Or you make them explain, "What exactly do you mean by that?" Rude people hate explanations because explanations expose stupidity, cruelty, or insecurity. Your voice stays low, your words stay few. You are teaching a rule without begging for it. Respect is the entry fee to your attention. In Machiavelli's world, appearances matter, and your appearance is composure. When you stay composed, their attack becomes their character on display. They either correct themselves or they expose themselves. Either way, you win without noise. You never throw an insult back first, because that drags you into their gutter. Let them be the messy one. You stay clean. So later, if consequences come, everyone remembers who had control and who begged for attention. The scalpel line. One sentence that ends it. You end it with a scalpel, not a hammer. One sentence, clean, final. Because the longer you talk, the more you bleed power. Here's the rule. Boundaries are not negotiations, they're statements. So when the insult crosses the line, you don't debate it, you name it and set the price. Look at them steadily and say, "Don't speak to me like that." Then stop. No lecture, no anger, just calm authority. If they smirk and test you again, you tighten it. I said don't, shorter, colder. If they push a third time, you introduce consequence without emotion. If you continue, this conversation is over. And when they continue, because some will, you follow through immediately. You turn your body, you remove your attention, you walk. That follow through is the real weapon. Words are cheap, action is status. Here's the Machiavellian core. You must be willing to lose the interaction to win the position. Most men stay and trade insults because they fear looking weak. But the man with power can leave. He doesn't need to perform. You also never explain your boundary. Explanation sounds like pleading for agreement. You don't need agreement, you need compliance. So keep it surgical. One line to stop it, one line to warn, one move to end it. Now the insulter learns a painful lesson. Access to you has rules, and disrespect is expensive. For a sharper blade, use a question that freezes. Do you talk to everyone like that, or only people you think you can control? Say it softly, like you're diagnosing a disease. Then silence. You're refusing their frame and rewriting the power contract. In Machiavelli's world, mercy without strength invites abuse. Strength without noise earns respect. Let your calm be the threat. Let your restraint be the warning. Let your exit be the punishment. Public versus private. Different battlefield, different weapon. Public insults are not the same battle as private insults. In public, it's theater. They're trying to harvest laughs, allies, and attention by turning you into a target. In private, it's control. They're trying to shift the power dynamic between two people, so you do not use one reaction for both, because that's how men get embarrassed twice, once by the insult, and again by a stupid response. In public, your goal is to protect your status without creating a scene that makes you look unstable. You don't overreact and you don't over-explain. You use minimal words and maximum composure. A calm look, a pause, then a line that frames them. Interesting thing to say out loud. Or, that was unnecessary. Short, clean. It signals to everyone watching that you're above the circus and they're the clown. If the setting allows, you can use humor like a blade. Never goofy humor, never pleading humor, dry humor that makes them look small. You rehearsed that, didn't you? Then you move on. The key is movement. Don't stand there waiting for their next punch. You redirect the conversation, you shift attention, you remove oxygen. In private, you tighten the boundary harder because there's no audience to manage, only a relationship to define. You become direct. Speak respectfully or we're done. And if they try to soften it with, "I'm just being honest," you cut the excuse. Honesty isn't disrespect. You're teaching them the rule that governs access to you. Publicly, you maintain image. Privately, you maintain territory. And in both places, you remember the Machiavellian advantage. The person who can walk away without explaining has the leverage, because when your attention is not free, people learn to handle you carefully, or they lose you entirely. Reputation warfare. Win later, not loud. You don't win every war in the moment. You win it in the aftermath, when everyone is calm and the truth has room to breathe. That's reputation warfare. Machiavelli understood it. The battlefield that matters most is what people remember, not what they hear in the heat. When someone insults you repeatedly, don't just handle it with a clever line and hope it ends. Build a file. Notice patterns. Who was present? What was said? How often? Who laughed? Who went silent? Rude people survive on confusion and speed. You beat them with clarity and time. Keep your hands clean. Stay composed in the moment. Then move off stage where real power lives. Quietly speak to the right people when emotions are low. Supervisors, mutual friends, decision makers, anyone who controls access, roles, invitations, opportunities. Not as a victim, as a man reporting a pattern that damages the environment. This is happening. Here are the examples. I'm not arguing. I'm setting a boundary. You never smear. You never rant. You never beg for sympathy. You present facts like a judge, and you choose timing like a strategist, because consequences land harder when they arrive cold, not in anger. Also, understand this. You don't need everyone to like you. You need your reputation to be untouchable, calm, consistent, reliable. When you stay controlled and they stay rude, people start to separate you two without you lifting a finger. Their behavior becomes their confession. Yours becomes your authority. That's the long game. You let them burn their own credibility while you protect yours. And when the moment comes to cut access, remove them from your circle. Deny favors, end conversations, close doors. You do it quietly, with zero drama. That's Machiavellian power. The punishment is real, but the face stays calm. Emotional immunity. Kill the trigger inside you. The reason insults sting is not because the words are sharp. It's because they touch something inside you that is still begging for validation. A bruise you pretend isn't there, an identity you're still trying to protect. That's why two men can hear the same insult and react differently. One explodes, the other doesn't even blink. The insult is not the weapon. The trigger is the weapon. So if you want to become untouchable, you don't just learn responses. You erase triggers. You stop outsourcing your self-worth to the mouths of strangers. Most men live like their reputation is glass. Any rude comment feels like a crack. But a man with power becomes stone. Not because he is numb, but because he is anchored. He knows who he is, and he knows who is allowed to speak into his identity. Here's the dark psychological truth. People who insult are attempting to write a story about you, and your ego panics because it fears the story will spread. But you control the story through your behavior, not your arguments. When you stay calm, you silently tell everyone, "This does not define me." When you react emotionally, you confirm that it might. So train your nervous system like a weapon. The moment you feel heat rising, label it. Ego. The moment you feel the urge to explain, label it. Approval addiction. The moment you want revenge instantly, label it. Impulsiveness. And then you choose discipline. One breath, one pause, one controlled sentence. That tiny gap between stimulus and response is where your power is born. This is how you become dangerous, by mastering the internal war. Because once insults stop controlling your emotions, people lose the ability to steer you. They can still talk, they can still mock, but they can't move you. And a man who cannot be moved cannot be defeated. He becomes the calm center of the room. He becomes the standard. He becomes untouchable, not because nobody tries, but because nothing sticks. The code, rules of the untouchable man. Now you live by a code, not motivation, not mood. A code. Because rude people don't test you once, they test you on your tired days, your stressed days, your distracted days. So you need rules that operate even when your feelings are weak. Rule 1. Never explain yourself to disrespect. Explanation is a request for approval. Rule 2. Never trade insults. That puts you on their level and ruins your image. Rule 3. Never react fast. Speed is emotion. Emotion is leverage for them. Rule 4. Reward respect. If someone corrects themselves, you allow it. Calmly. That trains people how to handle you. Rule 5. Punish disrespect with distance, not drama. Short answers, less access. End the conversation, leave. Rule 6. Speak in fewer words than they do. Wordy men sound defensive. Sparse men sound certain. Rule 7. Make boundaries early while the disrespect is still small. Small disrespect becomes big disrespect if you tolerate it. Rule 8. Control your face. Your face is a billboard. Don't advertise injury. Don't advertise anger. Advertise calm. Rule 9. Choose your battlefield. Public requires composure and framing. Private requires directness and consequences. Rule 10. Always remember the Machiavellian truth. Power is not what you say, it's what happens after you speak. If your boundary has no consequence, it is theater. If your boundary is followed by action, it becomes law. This code turns you into a man people approach carefully. Not because you're loud, because you're consistent, because your attention is expensive, because your calm is not weakness, it's control. And control is what every rude person is trying to steal from you. They can only steal it if you hand it over. So you don't. You hold it. Every time. Until it becomes your identity. Final transformation. This is what changes today. You stop living like your dignity is something other people can pick up and drop whenever they feel bored. You stop walking around with invisible strings attached to every mouth in the room, because that's what most men do. They call it being respectful, but it's really being programmable. One rude person presses the right button and suddenly your face changes, your voice rises, your logic disappears, and you're fighting a war you didn't choose. From now on, you do something colder. You become the man who decides the temperature. You become the man who sets the rules silently through behavior. When someone insults you, you don't rush to prove you're strong. You demonstrate that you are untouchable by refusing to be pulled. You pause, you watch, you make them feel the weight of their own words. You mirror with calm questions that expose intention. You draw the boundary with a scalpel sentence, and if they cross it again, you don't argue. You remove access. Because access is currency and disrespectful people don't deserve wealth. Understand the final Machiavellian lesson. The world doesn't respect emotions, it respects consequences. A man who talks about respect but tolerates disrespect is a man begging to be tested again. But a man who is calm, consistent, and willing to walk away becomes expensive. People feel it. They sense it in the pause, in the steady eyes, in the lack of explanations, in the fact that you don't need to win the moment because you control the long game. You don't need the room to clap for you. You need the room to understand you, that your attention is not free, that your peace is not negotiable, that your presence is a privilege, not an obligation. And once you adopt this, insults become laughably useless. They turn into background noise. They become proof that the other person is emotionally undisciplined, insecure, or hunting for a reaction like a starving animal. You don't hate them for it. You don't fear them for it. You simply see them clearly. And when you see people clearly, they lose their power to surprise you. That's what being untouchable really is: clarity plus control. So here's your final instruction. The next time someone tries to provoke you, don't think, "How do I respond?" Think, "What does my response teach them about me?" Because every reaction is a lesson. Teach them that you are calm. Teach them that disrespect gets nothing. Teach them that your boundaries are real. Teach them that you can leave. Teach them that you do not negotiate your self-respect. And if you want to lock this identity into your mind, I want you to comment a phrase that becomes your signature, something you will live by. Comment this exactly: "My silence is control." Let that be your oath. Let that be the line you remember when your ego wants to jump. My silence is control. And if this hit the part of you that's tired of being played, then you already know what to do next. Like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because the next lesson will sharpen you even further.